Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may Brahman protect us both, that is the teacher and the taught. May Brahman nourish us both by bestowing the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling towards each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om, Paramatmane Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vairasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidyacharyaya Nachiketa Secha. Om, salutations to the God of death, the Blessed One, the son of Vivasvat, and the teacher of Brahma Vidya, that's the science of knowledge, science of God. Also to Nachiketa. In our last study, we heard Yama telling us about the state of what's the highest state of a being, where he mentioned when the five senses of organs of knowledge remain steady, that is, they don't go to the object of senses, they're steady, that is, they are withdrawn in, along with the mind. That means the mind is not functioning, it's still. No outward impressions are entering. And even the buddhi doesn't function, it's steady, no oscillating of the buddhi. And that is the highest stage. So the five sense organs, jnanendriyas, the knowledge of perception, the mind and the buddhi, all are steady. They're poised, focused, and nothing is coming from out. So that is the highest. So if this is, it's well known in the world that alone exists, which is experienced by the organs of senses. What the eye sees, I know that it is there. It is there because my eye sees. I hear the sound because my ears hear, so the sound is there. So it's so with everything. All the experiences come through mind, senses, mind, and intellect. This is the process of experience, knowledge, what we get, everything. And since Brahman doesn't fall into this category, we may as well say Brahman doesn't exist. So no mind, no intellect, no sense organs. How can there be any perception? So there's nothing such a thing called as Brahman Taman. Oh, no. It's waste. Waste to practice and waste our energy and time on this yoga. It's better we enjoy what is right in front of us. So this is the general knowledge of the people of the world. I've seen many people doing, we don't believe in God and things like that. They're afraid lest the little enjoyment what they're getting will be lost. So believing in God, believing in spirituality, they mean to say they are afraid that what is that right in front of them, they'll be lost. This fear doesn't allow them to comprehend this truth, that there is something beyond. So this possible fear is there. That is why Yama says in this verse 12 of this 6th chapter, the Upanishads or the Shrutis are called as mother, just like a fond mother. Keep on telling the child what is good, what is bad. Don't do this, don't do that. Do this, this is good for you. Children don't like to eat. They want junk food. Mother says, no, junk food is not good for you. Eat nourishing, good food. So this is how the mother. So just like that, the scripture says, don't go for junk experiences. Go for genuine experience. So Naiva vachana manasa praptum shakyo na chakshusha astiti bruvatoonyatra katham tadupalabhyate. The Atman can never be reached by even speech or mind or the eyes, for that matter, any sense organ. How can it be realized otherwise than from those who say that it exists? So again, the Upanishad is iterating, again and again, it reiterates that the highest truth cannot be grasped through senses or the mind. We may get fed up of listening to the statement, but Shruti is never fed up. She's a fond mother, keeps on telling us what is to be told so that the idea will slowly sink into our system. The Upanishads have that we cannot grasp the truth through our senses because the concept of Atman is so subtle. Even when we say Atman and Brahman, even these words don't comprehend completely because it's beyond all terms and concepts. So as the self of all, it's ever the subject, never the object. And as the self of all, it's not only within the purview of our experience, but it's the very basis of our experience. The very fact I experience the world outside is the fact that there is something which is observing. There is a basis, a substratum is there. Even to perceive a false, there should be this truth behind. Supposing, take the example of this snake and the rope. That is the very fine example the Vedanta says. So in order to have the wrong conception of the snake is a false conception. But until unless there is a rope, you can never have a false conception. If there is no rope, how will you have the fear of snake? No. To see a snake wrongly, there must be a snake. There must be a rope. That means to say, even to have a false conception or to say that there is nothing exists, there should be some positive entity who perceives non-existence. That is the line of reason in the Upanishads. Everything in this world is experienced through the mediation, it's a mediate experience, a remote experience. It comes through senses, mind, and the intellect. So by the time it reaches my buddhi or the heart, it's distorted. But the consciousness alone is the primary, first, immediate experience. Because what lies there, I might not know. But no, I can't deny myself. No one need to tell that I exist. So this is an intimate experience. I immediately experience myself. No, none needs to teach me. I exist. It's a fact. So consciousness is always experienced immediately. Apart from that, none, everything else comes in and through some media of senses, mind, intellect, and so forth. And ego distorts all the more. So this is what the Upanishad says, that how are we to know? In Vedanta, there are few pramanas, means source of knowledge, how we acquire, how we understand the truth. What we call as valid means of knowledge, rather. There are 6 systems. I don't want to confuse you with everything. Just 3 we'll take. 3 more important one. That is, one is immediate knowledge, pratyaksha, direct knowledge, not immediate, direct knowledge. Direct knowledge is when the sense organs come into contact with sense objects, we get an awareness that it exists. For example, I touch this, it is there. I see, and I know that this is there. Everything in the world. When the sense organs come into contact with the sense object, then we recognize that there is something, awareness of the external world. This is pratyak. So Brahman doesn't fall into this category. So this valid means of knowledge is not used for us. Then there is another inference. Like, for example, you get up early in the morning, you breathe, you can feel the smell of smoke. There is somewhere fire. Bushfire is there. Immediately we come to know, we haven't even opened the doors and seen. The very air tells us smell of the burning. So like that, yeah, or we see somewhere far in a distant hill smoke coming. So we have an eye, we know where there is fire, there must be smoke. So we have got some sort of relationship. So through that we try to certain extent, you can understand the Brahman through this inference. But you will not have, they will not have the complete experience of Brahman. Some vague idea we may get, but that will not help us. And then there's only one. It is called as the verbal testimony of the great seers and sages. We know what they speak is truth from their own experience because they have been the salt of the earth. They are compassionate, they are truthful, their character is fine. So we can trust, they are trustworthy, we trust their words. They have come in face to face with the reality, and for the posterity, out of compassion, they have jotted down some ideas. So we rely on them. That is the only source of knowledge for us. Shankara says, you will not get the knowledge of Atman in anywhere else other than the Upanishad. It's not that only mystical experiences might be, anyone can have, whoever gone through, but it's systematically analyzed and given to you. The way of thinking, how to come to this conclusion, all this, you find it in the Upanishads. The seers have realized, and we call the Upanishads or the Shrutis as apaurushaya. It is not man-made. They might have jotted it down, but the truth in itself is eternal, ever existing. So that's the only verbal proof for us to know the truth that the Atman exists. They are called Aptavakyas. They are very close to us. We understand their truths because they have realized and they have given. And we need to take their words. See, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna speaks of the Asuri Sampat, those demoniac people who are, Asuri means what? Asu means senses. Those who rely on their senses for the source of joy. That is, who are sense bound. They are called as asuras, nothing else. They are not dark looking with all that, the pictures show very funny pictures of demons. Then, but what happens is, when I think this is the be all and end all, I tend to be selfish. And selfishness is real demon in us. Nothing else. The more I narrow myself, separate myself, and my body, my ego, my sense of enjoyment, that becomes the be all and end all. So naturally, I tend to become more selfish, and to gratify myself, I'm ready to do anything. So you see how one leads to another. That is where they are called asuras. So according to them, they say asatyam in the Gita, asatyam. There's no truth in this world. Apratishtam, it has no basis. Asatyam apratishtam te, this world. Anishwaram, there is no Ishvara, nothing. No. What is there after due to the union of male and female? We have come into existence. So there's nothing basis. So this type of materialistic view can distort our understanding. So the Upanishads are very careful. They know our spiritual life is just like a sapling, tender tree. If we come into the influence of all this materialistic ideas, so we may lose even the little what we have got the faith. So the Upanishads tell us, don't listen to them. Don't listen. You should always accept what is truth. Asti, who have told Asti? The saints have said. The sages have. Asti, they have understood. It is there. The self is there. I have experienced it. Only if you ask me, have you realized God? Can I say, oh, yeah, he's there up in the sky or up in somewhere? No. I have realized, I know it is there. This is what the sages tell us. They have realized it. That's the only proof they can say. Yes, I know it. That is asti. Those who have said, yes, I know, their verbal testimony is the only reliance. So we need to cultivate and nurture our spiritual plant with their teachings. So Upanishad says, there are one side who says, there's nothing, no existence, nothing, there's no truth. And here is someone who's saying, there is something. Because nothing can come out of nothing. If you perceive the world, the world existing, that means that there should be some existence behind to say everything is empty. Fine, empty. But who is perceiving the emptiness? There should be a positive entity to perceive the emptiness. So nothing can come out, something cannot come out of nothing. Nothing only comes out of nothing. So that is why, supposing that there are two, this verse, the second verse, which I have not entered into in Sanskrit, is many people have explained in a many way, but I'll just try to do as I understand it. I think, see, there is non-existence. It might be the materialist view, and there's existence, that is truth is there. That is what the sages, seers have told. Of these two, we need to take what is truth. You might say, Mataji, what are you saying? My senses, my mind, and my buddhi is so tangible. I can never discard it. I can never outgrow it. I can't transcend. Then that means to say, can I never realize God? Upanishad says, no, you can. If your body, mind, sense organs are so obvious to you, start it from there. You know, Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, once he came, one of the disciples, and said, Sri Ramakrishna asked, do you believe in God? You know, that was the patent question of Sri Ramakrishna. Do you believe in God, with form or without form? And the disciple was a very truthful person. He said, I do not know whether God exists. Then what to speak of his form and formlessness? I don't know. So good, started from disbelief. Started from there. Where you are, you started from there. The Upanishads don't tell you, no, good for nothing, don't anything. No, start where you are. They always give us a helping hand from where we are. That's the beauty of the Vedanta. It doesn't deny. It doesn't say, oh, atheist, you will go to hell. No, doesn't matter. Started from there. Doubt everything. But if there is one thing which the Upanishads doesn't let, hypocrisy. If you're sincere, fine. Started with disbelief. Investigate. Push your investigation. Further, you will come to the reality. Started with your all these upadhis which you have, all the limitations which you have started. That means to say, God with form comes within the realm of all your limitations. A God with form who is merciful, who is ready to help us, is there. So with our body, mind, intellect, emotions, we can reach him. That is Saguna Brahma. Ishvara. Started with him, doesn't matter. If we are sincere, we will proceed further. He himself, God himself will reveal to us what truly he is. Sri Ramakrishna says, started from there. He himself will tell you whether he has form or whether he has no form. Everything will come. But what is implied is stick to it, follow it, practice, do something. Then you will proceed. And Sri Ramakrishna says, supposing you are learning archery and you want to shoot. You start shooting a flying bird, can you? Never. Your arrow might go and fall into somebody, then you will be caught as a criminal. No. You start it with something very gross. He says, start it with a plantain tree. You know, plantain tree, there it will go and stick because it's very moisture is there. Start it with that. Then a fruit hanging, start with, then further you continue. Then you will be able to target. So like that, start it with the Saguna Brahma. Go. Then you will realize as God, as the self of you, as the Atman of your Atman, the soul of your soul, the master, this way. And then if we are sincere, seeking, purity has to come to us. Our minds have to become pure. Our heart has to become desireless. Then truth is revealed to us. So start it from there, wherever. So the prasada, he says, it's by the grace of the Atman, it is revealed. And Holy Mother tells in still a beautiful way, She says, as you handle the flowers, the fragrance of the flower comes into your hand. You rub the sandal paste, we make from the puja. So after sometimes, in the hands, always the sandal smell will be there. So like that, when you keep on thinking of God, repeating his name, praying to him, loving him, then the truth of God will. She says in Bengali, Fool nate gandha korte. Ishwar chinta korte korte tattva gyane hruday hoy. Ishwar chinta, she said. Ishwar means God who is able to give you help. That is I and thou relationship. That's called as Ishvara. So as you keep on meditating, praying, having a relationship with God, when you start, then Tattva means what? Tattva, the truth of the God. That means the impersonal aspect of God will be revealed. So simple mother's examples are day-to-day examples. She is working with all these brahmacharinis are doing everything. In Holy Mother's house, this Sarala, Tarala, these, Bharti Pranama, they all used to be young girls. They used to do. So with these examples, she is telling, as you keep on doing, how you inherit that fragrance comes to your hand. In the same way, as you keep on thinking of God, the knowledge of God will be revealed in your heart. That's the Holy Mother's example. Then the next 14th, verse 14th and 15th. I'll read together, or doesn't matter, 14th. You put the 14th. Yada sarve pramuchante kama yesya hridishritaha athamarthyo amruto bhavatyatra brahma samushnute. When all the desires that dwell in the heart are destroyed, then mortal man becomes immortal and attains Brahman. Here, see, here in this very life, no post-mortem heaven, realization or freedom, here and now. Kama. The Atman is in the Buddhi. Buddhi is closer to the Atman. The Atman is in the heart. The spiritual heart is the place. Holy Mataji used to say, the heart of a man is the seat of God. But what have we done over the eons, birth after birth, cycle after cycle? I'm not saying, when I say birth, I don't say just the birth in this cycle. Cycles after cycles, cycles after cycles. How many big bangs, how many creations we have gone through, how many times we have seated like this and discussed, and we have lost our way. Again, we have taken the birth. So we have got a big luggage, heavy, all dumped, debris dumped in the heart. So the self-effended Atman is closed, can't see the light. So when all these desires are removed, then the self shines. It's very hard process because the root cause of this desire is ignorance. Avidya, kama, karma. Ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of one's true nature. So the moment this ignorance has two power. One is it hides the truth. And then it projects something else. For example, the same, our favorite example, the rope is there. Rope is the something which is really the existing there. Something, what happens is first it hides the truth. That is, we don't see the rope at all. And then what we see? We see a snake. So there is one infinite existence throughout this cosmos. that is hidden. And what is projected? This vast, variegated universe with all human beings, animals, and how we are fighting for our existence. We don't allow any siblings of this earth to exist. We are crouching on all of them. Look at the thing, how we are doing with the planets. Endangered species. Why? This human being, selfish. All I want. I and me. This is the center of grasping importance, dumping everything on the sweet self. This is man. So this is the selfishness of man. So it's very hard thing. But to the extent, through the studies of Upanishads, reasoning, contemplation, we understand. To that extent, our desires, our craving to go out is reduced. Sri Ramakrishna says, to the extent you get the knowledge of the Atman, or have the awareness of to that extent, you'll be away from the body consciousness. Or to the extent you can withdraw yourself from this idea of body consciousness, to that extent, your knowledge will reveal. You feel the awareness of the self. So it's what do you call? It goes together. It's reciprocating. And then even this vague knowledge of the Atman is really, it's so unique to think of the Atman. Even the conviction is so edifying. And what to speak of the real experience. That's what I told you. Karma means, karma means not just this, any human being for that matter. Those we have this embodied beings, naturally have to some extent this karma. But through culture, we overcome it. But there's a heavy load. If you want to climb the highest mountain, you carry all the baggages. It's very difficult. I haven't climbed Kailas, all that. But of course, I have gone to Amarnath, 19,000 feet. I've seen even your backpack becomes heavy. So you try to reduce things as less as possible. So many things weigh in our heart unnecessarily. We don't need it all. I'm not meaning this external things. Within our heart, so many conceptions, so many ideas, so many things. We can just reduce it, ignore them, and try to focus on the Atman. That's the way to go towards it. So when we overcome these desires, then the Atman is revealed. And what here, this very mortal becomes immortal. What is mortality? Our identity with the body. That I am the body, this is mine, I and mine. And so naturally, this body has come out and it will go one day. Then fear of death, abhinivesha, you heard from Mataji in the Raja Yoga, clinging to life. All this comes. It comes out of ignorance. So, but when the Atman is realized, I'm saying from our own point where we are staying, it's not that we have realized, but even the very clear understanding and studies and contemplation gives us so much strength. Sri Krishna said, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato vaya. Even the little practice of this religion will save you from great fear. Even an intellectual understanding, conviction gives us tremendous strength to practice detachment. If not, it won't come. Not easy. Constantly we need to put it in our head. So this very mortal becomes immortal. So through the study of Vedanta, through reasoning, through contemplation and other disciplines, when we feel our infinite nature, the pure awareness, then we know the body alone is going to die, not me and the eternal self. This idea will come to us. A sense of freedom, that is more important. That sense of freedom will come to us. It's a great thing, great blessing. And then the next, in the same strain, the Upanishad says, this is about karma. And then there's another big demon called doubt. Yada sarve prabhidyante hridayasya grantayah athamartyo amruto bhavatyetavadyanusashanam. When here, in this very life, all the knots of the heart are rent asunder, the mortal man becomes immortal. This much alone is the teaching of all Vedanta. Here ends the Upanishad proper. Later on, there are a few more. It deals with other things. But here, doubt. Doubt is a great demon. Swamiji said, Samshaya Rakshasa Nasha Mahastram. Sri Ramakrishna has come with a weapon. What is that weapon? With that weapon, he destroys the demon of doubt. Sri Ramakrishna said, God exists, God is there, God exists. There is a truth behind this universe. And that infinite God is the self of all. You can realize. Jiva is Shiva. Sri Ramakrishna has told us. He is our Apta. His Aptavakya, his words are the Upanishadic words. And Granthi means knot. It's a knot. And the Vedanta calls it Chit Jada Granthi. Chit means consciousness, Jada means matter. Matter and consciousness get twisted. There are three places, at three levels. One at the physical level, physical Granthi. That is, we always considered spirit, matter and spirit as one. I am pure spirit. The spirit is animating this body, but I take the body to be conscious. Once the consciousness is retracted, becomes, disintegrates, decomposes. So this is at the gross level, we mix the spirit and the matter. This is one Granthi. And then emotional, at the emotional level, there is another knot. We identify ourselves with the emotions. People go mad. Don't have the capacity. It's the mind that is thinking. Just to be away from it. Just to disentangle or separate oneself from the emotions. It's a big blessing to know I am not the emotions. I can think reasonably. This comes out of reason, applying reason. That is why Swamiji always said, pure bhakti, Swamiji never allowed, because you need to be really, really evolved in order to have pure bhakti. Jnana Mishra bhakti. Knowledge and devotion should go together. Never lose your reason. Apply reason. Emotions overwhelm us. Apply reason. Swamiji has taught us. This is the important thing about it. So, and then there is another knot, which is very, very difficult. That is the knot of intellect. So there, Sri Ramakrishna says, for example, a great scholar, like our Mahimacharan in the gospel, who had read so much books. In Sanskrit, books means grantha. Grantha means books. Granthi means knot. So every book you study will become a knot for you. Because with every book, every bit of knowledge, my ego will become big. So this is the biggest Granthi, the arrogance of knowledge. Oh, I am a PhD scholar, I am a professor, I am a this and that. You, what do you mean? This ego comes. This is a very difficult ego. Of course, there's another big ego. The ego of sadhu. I am a sadhu. That's another one. Anyway, that is too far. Sri Ramakrishna, by the grace of him, we try to keep a low profile. Anyway, so these granthis are there. These are the doubts. These are the knots. Where do they arise from? The same desires. These desires bring in their train this doubt. For example, let me take the example of a full-time spiritual aspirant, renunciate like me. If we don't have the roots, then the doubt will assign. Is all this suffering and effort that I'm taking, is it worthwhile? The doubt in the worthwhileness of our adventure will come. It's a very big obstacle in spiritual life. We should have the conviction, if there is the conviction that at the end of this order's journey, something supreme, highest is in store for me. If this conviction is there, then I will invest all my energy, time, talent, intellect, everything to this one person. That means I will not reserve myself for anything. I read yesterday or the first day, a beautiful thing from Yatishwaran Maharaj. He says, a person asked the teacher, when a lion sees its prey, it just pounds exactly and catches it. What is the degree of concentration there? The teacher says 100%. The lion doesn't keep any reserve because on it depends its survival. If he doesn't catch the prey, no food. So he invests the complete energy on that and pounces on it. So if I know this is my time, I have to do within this psychophysical organism is there, I have to work out my evolution. If that is there, then I can accelerate my evolution. So the concentration becomes very powerful. So this sincerity of the purpose without reserve, this is a great, quality of spiritual aspirants. This is important. When that happens, immediately the mortal will become immortal. Nothing is there. The desires have gone. The doubt might aside, but there's a conviction. That conviction will brush aside and give me all the strength to go towards. And one fine day, by the grace of the Atman alone, I will realize all my finitude will drop off, and what is left is the Supreme Self, the immutable Atman. Even there is no mind, it reveals. Even if my body drops off, go well and good. What am I to do? What have to be done is done. Sri Ramakrishna says the Ayurvedic medicines are made in a bottle they keep. It's made of a lot of minerals. So when it's a very, very precious thing. It's kept in the bottle. When that medicine is made, the doctor will slowly, he knows how to beat the bottle and get it. Not a single glass will enter into that. He knows where to hit and how to hit, how much of pressure he has to give it. And then he just take the bottle and take the medicine out of it. Because you cannot melt the medicine, it has to freeze and then you have to remove it. And no plastic, not of this type. So once that medicine is made, the bottle remains or it breaks, doesn't matter. So once the Atman is realized, whether the body remains or not doesn't matter. And if at all, if it doesn't, if there is something has to be done, if God thinks, somebody will be benefited. So I'll come back to the normal consciousness and do it. It's a long way. I'm just telling you, that's all. So that will happen. So in this very life, here itself, the mortal will become immortal. So immortal means being aware of our infinite nature, pure bliss, awareness, this. But two things, desirelessness and doubtlessness. These are the things which differentiate mortal and immortal. In one of our Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we have the sage Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a great sage, and all sages are not monks. They renounce later on. They are grihasthas actually, highly evolved soul. So when he thought finally he will take his final vows of renunciation, so he called his wife. He had two wives, Katyayani and Maitreyi. Maitreyi, the older one, the Katyayani. So told them, yes, here, dear, I'm going to renounce. I'm thinking of dividing the property between you both. What do you say? Fine, the younger one said, no problem, go. She took the wealth and went away. The elder one, she said, she had great respect for her husband. She knew that he was a great spiritual aspirant. He said, sir, supposing if I have the entire wealth of the earth, will that bring me immortality? Yajnavalkya says, no, dear. Your life may be like that of an aristocrat, or the wealth may bring you all the comforts and a decent life at the most, or aristocrat, whatever it is. But there is no chance of immortality through wealth. There is, however, no hope of immortality through wealth. This is the statement. This is an Upanishadic statement. It is. And there's another Upanishad, Kaivalya Upanishad says, seek to know the infinite self by faith, devotion, and the yoga of meditation. Not by action, not by progeny, not by wealth, but by renunciation alone does one experience immortality here and now. Death and deathlessness are both within this psychophysical organism. By perceiving delusion, that is prayer, we read in the Upanishad, isn't it? 2, pleasure and what is beneficial. So by perceiving pleasurable things through delusion, we reach death. And by perceiving truth, the beneficial, we attain immortality. With this, the Upanishad proper ends. This much is the Upanishad. So all of them are not so heroic that we will realize the Atman here and now. We are all in different stages of our evolution. What about the person who has not realized the Atman? Of course, Shri Krishna says in the Gita, wherever he has stopped, finished, next he will continue from there. This is one. And you remember, Nachiketa had asked another question in the second boon about the sacrifices. And Yama had told that there is such a sacrifice called as Nachiketa sacrifice, wherein you will reach the highest heaven. Now, this is, Upanishad is telling another truth. So here and now, the person who has realized his Atman, fine. He, just like a drop of water going to the ocean, loses its identity. So he merges into the Brahman. That's the fine about it, no problem. This is the second category. That's the highest category is that. This is the second category of person who has worked hard, who has done a lot of good activities, good work, karma, selflessly, done a lot of sacrifices and spiritual practices and everything, not the spiritual practices, and what do you call ritualistic worships, everything he has done. And supposing he dies, what about him? What will happen to his? That the Upanishad says. There are 101 nerves in the heart. One of them extends towards the crown of the head. That is, you know, the Shushumna we say in the yoga, that going out of it upwards at death, man attains immortality. This immortality is not the immediate immortality which the yogi, the first yogi acquired. No, this is gradual. What happens is the Brahmaloka, the highest heaven, it is the cosmic mind. So what this person attains the cosmic mind. He becomes one with the cosmic mind. So at the dissolution of the universe, the cosmic mind will become one with the Brahman. So he'll ultimately realize Brahman. That is not so important. It's a gradual. So we also fall into, there are three ways. One is this person gradually will attain the Brahman. There's another one. He also did ritualistic worships, everything, like Nachiketa's father wanted to go to heaven and enjoy. So that person will go enjoy the pleasures of the heaven, come back to earth, and then take the reign of his evolution and start again. But there are some, according to their karma and knowledge, they will go to a less edifying planes of existence. We're sorry about it, but can't help. There are people we see. So Anishta, Ishta, Mishra. Anishta is the lower. Really, none of us don't want to go, but bound by their actions and karma, they go to the lower planes. And Mishra is combination, that is like us, come back to the earth, work hard, learn your lessons, and then go to the next class. So like that. And then greater people going to higher heavens, and from there they go the final beatitude of realization. So this is about the karma. And finally, that's a beautiful quotation from Swamiji. It's not a quotation. Swamiji had written a letter to his brother monk. He says, because brother monk was working hard to do good to the people. He was doing a lot of service there. So it is the heart that is the seat of all power. It is not the brain, but in the heart that the Atman, possessed of knowledge, power, and activity, has its seat. The nerves of heart are 101. The chief nerve center near the heart, Dr. Yu, the chief nerve center near the heart is called the sympathetic ganglia. Is where the Atman has its citadel. The more you have the more you have the will, you will have the heart, you'll be able to manifest, the greater will be the victory to you. That is, see, the heart purified, no doubt, and full of sympathy, feeling of oneness, connectedness. Atman is revealed. So this is the result of pure karma yoga, looking upon all as oneself. Friday you had seeing oneself in the others in oneself. So this is karma done through that is not at all a karma. It will remove all the bondages, liberate us, give us emancipation, free from our karmas. So the 17th, the final. Angushtamatra 17. Angushtamatra purusho antaratma sada jananam hridaye sannivishtaha tan swat sharirat pravruhet munjadiveshikam dhairyena tam vidya shukramamritam tam vidya shukramamritamiti. The Purusha, the inner self, of the size of the thumb, always dwells in the heart of beings. One should separate him from one's own body with steady courage, as one separates the tender stalk from a blade of grass. One should know him as the luminous, as the immortal. Yeah, as the luminous, as the immortal. So this, the Atman, though all-pervading, infinite, is for the sake of meditation conceived as the size of a thumb. Meditation within the personality is higher than the meditation outside. So you need a small size to meditate in the heart. Heart is only this one. So within that, so that's with thumb. Size is mentioned. And it should be meditated as luminous. And he says, the Yama says, it has to be the separation of the Atman from the Anatman. That is self from the non-self. The body is the non-self, the Atman is the self. So you have got to say discrimination, discernment. How do you do it? With steadiness and perseverance. Tremendous perseverance is needed. Life after life, if you are ready to do it, that is the part. The perceiving heart says, with the drop by drop, I will empty the ocean. Can you imagine emptying the ocean? Which is impossible. No, for a aspirant with conviction, perceiving soul will say, I'll do it. So that is the extent of perseverance we are expected to have. Tremendous perseverance and courage. Nothing has happened. Am I going to die without anything? I haven't got any positive experience. Doesn't matter. Why one life? 10 lives I will take. I will persevere again and again. So this should be the perseverance of the spiritual aspirant. And this stalk is so tender. You got to remove it carefully, haphazardly, quickly. No, all that won't do. Dheer, still, straight, steady. We need to, it's a delicate process. But if we are convinced what we are going to get is the highest, then we will invest all our energies on that. And we will surely, for this, what is needed is Shraddha, which Nachiketa had. Shraddha is very important. That makes all the difference between person to person. The more a person has Shraddha, this conviction, more he progresses in spiritual life. Thus, the 18th one, last. We know Nachiketa came to Yama asking the knowledge, and he did receive. Thus, receiving, learning from Yama, the god of death, the truth of the inner self, along with the yoga, Nachiketa attained freedom. So can all. So he learned the know-how, the technique of the yoga, completely everything. It's a vidya, it's knowledge. He learned from him and he overcame his weaknesses. He was freed from all the blemishes, Raja. Viraja, Viraja means, Raja means blemish, activity, restlessness. Viraja means freed from blemishness, freed from Rajoguna. And that is Sattva, pure. And he realized his infinite transcendental self. So shall anyone else attain who will thus work towards and realize Brahman as his own self. So the points to remember in this Upanishad is, one must have the burning passion to know the truth of human life and human destiny. Shraddha, the faith in oneself. The keen, pure, sharp intellect to discern the pleasure from the beneficial. And above all, strength to discard what is false, untruth, and proceed towards one's spiritual destiny. I'll conclude this with Swamiji's famous utterances from this Upanishad. He had given just a free translation of it. Uttishtata jagrata prapyavaran nibodhata. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached.
So there's time for some questions, and we just want to do something a little bit more organized here. You've got people tuning in via Zoom, and it's being recorded to go up onto YouTube later. So, for the benefit of those, especially, we have a question and answer time now. So we'd like them to be able to hear the questions. So we've got a mic here, a very long lead, which is working. Right, that's good. That's working. And I believe anyone watching, if you want to ask a question, I believe I've got the settings correct here that we can pick you up, we can hear you. I wanted to start just with a very broad sort of question regarding the whole origin of the search that led to the Upanishads into self-realization, and how it came to be. It happened in India. So I know there are theories that the Gangetic plain we know is very fertile. So presumably people didn't have to work so hard to have the necessities of life. And then I wonder, with the barrier of the Himalayas, that they didn't have so many options to go exploring externally. So I wonder whether all this, without taking credit away from the Indian people as such, that gave them the opportunity and the inclination to go inwards rather than outwards.
True. Climate has a lot to say about it. If it is cold places, you need to warm up yourself. So you tend to be very active. So tropical country people naturally try to avoid such exertions. This might be one reason. It's all not everything in itself. These are all the points we can take into. Second, the beautiful sublime Himalayas. Even gross person, ordinary person like us, when you look at the Himalayas, I was there for an year and a half. I had the good fortune of seeing the Himalayas early in the morning till evening I could. I used to do all my studies outside. So beautiful. You see the mind automatically it gets indrawn. So this might have given them the chance. And above all, it's not that they straight away came into the realization of it was gradual. First, the people were very, realistic, down to earth people. They believed in enjoyment and they believed the nature as the primitive people. So there must be some higher power behind it. The deifying of the nature came from there. That is why we have got the god of fire, god of rain, god of death, everything. They deified the nature. And through the sacrifices, they tried to satisfy the divine and get the favor from it. So that shows there was a business type of B and T. But there are always people, thinking people in a society. When thinking people started inquiring the credentials of one's experience and the credentials of the gods, so-called gods, they had to answer to some of this intellectual, those questions which they had. When these gods failed to answer, this concept of God failed, they just brushed it. So the passion for truth, you can say that is a blessing the continent has, the race has, you can say. I do not know, because each race has its own, typical values and the way the culture society has come. So that point of it. So thinking people rose against it. There was in the beginning not to question. Don't question, just like the church. You cannot question. So that type of stuff. But the thinking people rose and they rebelled and they nipped it in the bud itself. So free inquiry, the freedom to inquire, go in your own way, find out. So this inquiry, it came upon the race. It's like a madness. Now the race has internet. Everyone, no father, no mother, no communion, no society, nothing, day and night in front of me. So this has come upon the race. Like that, a passion for truth, to find it scientifically. There was no priestcraft, there was no church to hold them. So free reigns. Everybody, they investigated, experimented in their own life and realized. So that is how the race got it. So everything was, and above all, freedom of thought. That is the great thing.
I just thought there was another aspect too, the climate. So we know in places like Thailand, in the wet season, the monsoon season, there was the tradition in Buddhism that was a time for all the monks to gather together and have discussions and study together.
Yeah, Buddha was from tropical country. That's because Chaturmasya, we say. Usually monks go for begging, through begging, and there's a saying in Hindi, Bahata pani ramta sadhu. The water will never get polluted if it runs. Flowing water doesn't get. And the moving monk will never acquire attachment. So monks used to always, but in the fourth season, rainy season, monsoon, they can't go anywhere. So at that time, they sit. Two things they do: study, meditation, study, deep study, not just superficial and inquisitiveness, deep study and contemplation. So this, the climate has, so climate is one of the factor, nature is another factor, and above all, the race itself has something of its own. I always say, Don't think that I'm a fanatic or anything. Shri Krishna says, I am this among the trees, I am this among the plants, so I said, if Krishna he would have said, among the countries, I am India. He would have said that, because it's something unique of that race. Something unique of that race. Because the race has spent much of its energy on it. And that is why this science has come to us. That may be the reason, that's all. But whoever, it is not the prerogative of only Indians or the Hindus or any Vedantin throughout the world. Because what Vedanta says is not for any race or any society, confined to society. It's universal. Its principles are universal. Its truth is universal. Are you a human being? That's it. That's the only condition. And are you a human to the world? Then fine, go ahead. That's all. That's all is required. Nothing else. And the truth is yours. So that's why, Shrunvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha. The Upanishad. Listen, O children of immortality. They didn't say Shrunvantu Vishwe Bharatasya Putraha. Children of Bharat, India. Amritas Vishwe. Oh, world. And look at the boldness of these rishis. You who live in the highest spheres, even you listen. Even gods have to obey man. Because in the man is the infinite Atman. The man who has realized his infinite Atman, he's so great that gods bow down to him. That is the thing behind. When God created man and asked the other angels to bow down, everybody did. Only one didn't do. That became Saturn. So, man is the reflection of God. Man has this capacity to realize. Let's start from wherever we are. Wherever we are, we'll start it. And we are sure to reach. Doesn't matter. Any amount of embodiments, we'll go. That conviction has to be there. Yes. Anything else?
In today's talk, you said that there should be a desirelessness completely. Then you can get the liberation and free from it. When you go into the Gita, when the Arjuna is fighting, that time he says, look, he is giving up. And that time Krishna says, you have to do this, but do this karma and leave to me, and then only. So there is a contradiction. Here, another thing, here also you are asking, there should be a desire. Desire in a good way, in the sense that you have to go for this skill. I want to go to the ultimate aim. So to become the desireless.
See, Sri Ramakrishna says, Bhakti Kamana, knowledge, desire for knowledge doesn't fall into the category of desires. Because this desire has got the liberating power. The other desires have got the binding effect. But this desire has a liberating effect. Do you understand? Desire means everything will not be. And Sri Krishna said in the Gita, Dharma viruddheshu kamosmi bharata shabha. I am the legitimate desire in man. Legitimate. That's the adjective. I am the legitimate desire in man. That desire which doesn't contradict, which doesn't affect the society, which is within the rights. I am. Human being is born. That's fine, there's nothing wrong. But if you are intending to be the spirit, the true spirit what you are, then you have to. You have to go beyond your body mind. So that is why the desirelessness which the Upanishad is saying is very higher desire. Where Krishna is saying is because Arjuna has got a duty as a Kshatriya. His duty is to protect the nation. If people like Duryodhana were there, even we have now also, were there, what would have happened to us? So the righteous people should be there. They should have this desire to work for the society. If that is not, that we will become a rock and stone. So that is why Krishna asked him.
There's another question about this Gita also. When there is a Pandavas, okay, 5 people, one Karna, if you consider as a 6 children of the Kunti, that is fine. But when it comes to the Gandharva, 99 children, and when the Mataji gave the lecture a few years ago, That time she said there was not 99, but it was a stone. And when in the desire, that one, 99 pieces came out. And out of that, the Kauravas grew. So what is truth? Is
Look.
the Krishna was there or not? And Kaurava was also there. Or it is just the concept as he was saying.
The thing is, see, this is the monarchy of those days. And a king had in his harem thousands of queens. So those days they cared for this. What do you call? What is it? Pedigree. That's very important. This I'm going outside the subject of, but still I will answer to you. Hastinapura, the Kauravas, this Bharatvangsha had such a great pedigree. Anyone was ready to give their daughters. This Dhritarashtra was blind, yet the king of Gandhara was ready to give his daughter, not just one daughter and her younger sisters, 9 of them, together is 10. So 10 into 10, 100, you can take it. Now, I'm saying, whatever might be that. So the whole lot gathered. We only see Gandhari was married to Dhritarashtra. What about her other sisters? The whole lot was given into this one family. So these things happen. So that's not the important. And in another way also, which is strange, the fetus, the baby, or the baby didn't grow at all. The fetus remained for 2 years in her womb. I do not know. Don't ask me. No questions in the stories. It's the story if you think. And then when they had to, what do you call, like how we do this cesarean type something, they had to a lump of flesh. So, but having life in it. So they were put into test tube, like test tube babies, literally of today's, how you take and send it and you get it. So like that. So every piece, and this Gandhari wanted, I have 100 sons, not a single daughter. We all have this male and female cells, that I do not know much about the biology. So for one of that became the female, that is the daughter. So these things they say, and we take what is just necessary. Sri Swamiji used to say, Naja moda bad diye now, means when you eat fish, you better give the head and the tail, because they have a lot of thorns, very difficult to eat. Just take what is necessary for us. For us, Sri Krishna and the righteousness of Pandavas is more than enough for us, as we spiritual aspirants. The other things we don't have to, we will leave for the people who want to have just discussing things. But we as spiritual aspirants, we know Krishna, God came, and we know we will take the righteousness of Pandavas and the teachings of Krishna. There ends the Mahabharata. I'm not concerned with this Duryodhana and how he came. Doesn't apply to us. There are lots of Duryodhanas in the world, so we don't have to bother our head for it. Yes, anything else?
Yeah, just pass the mic.
This is not really a question, but I'd just like your view on it. My view is that with the word desire, it kind of gets lost in translation. My feeling is that it's all desire, like the desire for worldly goods is a desire in the English language, but also the desire for God is a desire. We can't say it's not a desire, but once you realize God, there's no more desire because you've reached the highest.
Yeah.
So you get to a state of desirelessness that way.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd like to say, even these lower desires, behind the desire in everyone is that, whether they know it or not, is the desire to reach that desirelessness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, I think, a little bit lost in translation. But for us, desire is you want something and you want realization, but once you get there, then there's no more desire.
Yeah. What happens is the desire, actually the thing behind the desire is you want to have something which will not ask anymore.
Yeah.
This is there, but we do not know. We always give a different turn, a wrong turning for it. And then what happens? More and more, we get entangled.
Yeah. Ranganathan Namaji used to talk of that tatat kim.
What next? What next?
That seems to be part of human nature. We get something, no, we're still unhappy. And it's a wonderful thing in human beings And that tarakam is a really, once you get the desires, there's no more anything else.
But rather, Sri Ramakrishna used to say, you increase your desires, but give a different turning to it. More Firiyadam. Well, one of his disciples, he was a very, very strong Vedantan. He asked, sir, how am I to overcome desires? I mean, in a very crudest sense, kama means lust. Okay. So he asked, how am I to overcome? Then he said, why do you want to overcome? Just give it turning, different turning. So if we have the desire to progress, desire to evolve, desire to go forward. So this is, even Swamiji said, Indians, there were many Indians who really wanted to go to spiritual life and all. The Swamiji would ask, what is your qualification? How much you have studied? Have you done anything? Do you know to tell lies? Sir, I do not know him. If you cannot tell a lie, what sort of a person are you? What sort of intelligence are you? You're not fit for anything. At least go learn. So much of tamas, so much of dullness. So you see, this also makes you active. The people who tell lies should be very intelligent. To tell the truth is very easy. You don't need much intelligence. You just tell what is it. But to hide a truth, you need a lot of intelligence. Only it is a distorted intelligence. That is it. But the intelligence is there. But if that same intelligence could be used for the higher purpose, the person would give on. You see, everything has its place, right place. Only thing is you need to. All the faculties which God has given is always for our evolution, for us. God tells, hold on this and go forward. But what I do is I just leave it and go for something else.
Correct.
That's my mistake. It's my choices. The choices which we make. We learned it in this Upanishad. The choices what we make. Within this only I have to do. I have to use my body, mind, intelligence, all this. With this only I have to go through this ocean of samsara. Isn't it? So if I make proper use of it in the right direction, this will become best instruments for me in my realization. If not, I can ruin my life. It depends upon me. Yes, Pratik?
You were talking about the bhakti yoga or the devotional aspect, which Swamiji used to say. So I couldn't get the whole thing about following blindly about the bhakti versus the intellect coming into the contradiction when you start doing it.
Yeah. So bhakti is pure emotion, pure, complete love for God. Now, if this emotion is not purified, it will degenerate. Emotions have to be purified. How do you purify the emotions? Through reason. Through reason. What happens, people tend to be fanatic. But when we apply reason, then we say, no, not necessarily all those who will love God alone are devotees. There are people who work to the societies without even caring for anything else. Are they less evolved? So that is another way. They're working for the society, but with what idea? That I am serving the God in all of them. That is a bhakti aspect of work. And another aspect, I alone reside in everyone. There's nothing, no one other. If someone is suffering, I am suffering through that body. See, Swamiji says, if it is a joy to enjoy the joy of being in one body, being in one body, to enjoy this body, if it is great. So if I can reside in if I can feel my existence in so many bodies, how much will be the enjoyment? It's multiplied. Then if I can multiply to the whole universe, through every body I enjoy, through every hands I eat, through every feet I walk. So it's a very difficult experience. When something does bad, even that bad doing also is mine. So that time I cannot contradict him or I cannot hate him. Rather, I will feel compassionate and I will try to go and rectify. So it's a very high concept. Not everyone is blessed with this vision. But even intellectually, say for example, I am helping someone. I'm trying to. So in a subtle way, the ego comes. Oh, I do such great, big job. I do this. Slowly the ego is raising. But if I say no, who is there other than Sri Ramakrishna in this world? Every heart is he. It is he who is suffering. Then I will try all my best to alleviate that suffering. So in this line that Swamiji has asked us to work. In this line he has asked. So that is why Swamiji has great regard for bhakti, love. But until and unless that bhakti, the love is refined, purified, you cannot rely on it. So apply. Till then you apply reason and overcome the emotions. Sometimes we get emotionally attached to one particular god. You know, that there are people, you know, there was a person called as Ghantakarna. He was so much attached to Lord Shiva. He was a devotee of Shiva. Such a fanatic he was that he wouldn't like to see any gods, any other gods. So one day, the Lord Shiva himself appeared as half Vishnu, half Shiva, you know, Harihara, we say. And this fellow was showing this incense. And what he did, you know, he was such a nasty fanatic he was. He closed the nose of Vishnu so that he must not inhale this fragrance which is given to that extent. Or if anyone hears, tells the name of other gods, he doesn't want to hear. So he had a bell to his ear. So Ganta Karana, Karana his ear, a bell. So when anybody said Hari, no, he will do like this so that he will not hear that Hari. So to such extent you can go. But this is a story. You know, it's really extreme ends. But people can be fanatic. If you don't agree with me, I will kill you. This is going on. We know it. So, because no reason is there. That is why always hold on to the sword of reason and cut the unnecessary parts of the emotions. Throw it. It has no truth in it. So that's what Swamiji asks us to do. Yes, anything else?
Any more?
No questions from the Zoom audience?
Any more questions? The people on Zoom, I've remembered to remove the security restrictions, so you can actually ask questions now if you like.
Anyway, everything has been, I think we have covered most. What is essential for our spiritual aspirants? I think we have covered it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So just a few announcements. So our thanks to Sridharaprana. This concludes the series of talks on the Katha Upanishad, and we look forward to having a similar series next year, which we'll inform you about later. And coming up this first day, we have the weekly yoga class from 10 to 11:15 a.m. We have the fortnightly spiritual evening discussion on Friday from 7 p.m. with silent meditation, and discussion starts at 7:30. Next Sunday, we have the monthly talk on Raja Yoga. That's given by Gayatri Pranaji with question and answer session. Now, we also wish to have the monthly Vedanta book club meeting in the afternoon from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. We're proposing to study the article, The Gita and War by Christopher Isherwood, but quite a bit of setting up and organizing for that. So we'd like to have RSVPs for 10. If we know we've got about 10 people coming, we'll go ahead with it. It'll make it worthwhile.
Is it saying that?
Well, we're not at this stage. It started off as something that's in person. A few people requested it be in person. So we'll see in the longer run, maybe we will do that. But anyway, let's see if we can get the numbers. We'll go ahead with that next Sunday. Finally, donation plate, donation box up the back. Thanks for coming.